Here you're asked which of these functions are prime, and you're supposed to select all that apply. So there could be more than one answer. So the first thing you need to know is, what does it mean by prime? So these are quadratic functions, and I know that because there's an x squared that makes them quadratic. And so when it says prime, what that means is that this can't be factored. All right, so what does that mean by factored? Okay, so let's write down the standard form. So the standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the standard form of a quadratic. Now, when you're factoring it, what you're looking for is two numbers that multiply to c. So let me write that down. Multiply to c. And they also, and they have to add to b. Now, if you can't find two numbers that do that, that multiply to the c value and add to the b value, then that's considered prime. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So in A, let me get a different color here. In A, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 10 and add to -2. Now, if they multiply to a positive, so they multiply to a positive, that happens from either them both being positive or both being negative. So they're either both positive or both negative. Well, now when I look at the 2 is negative, and so they have to add to a negative. The only way that happens is if they're both negative. So I'm looking at two negative numbers. So if I look at the factors of 10, so I have 5 and 2. And again, I know these are both negative. So -5, -2. If I add those, I get -7. So that doesn't work. What about -10 and -1? Those don't add to -2. So this one can't be factored. There are not two numbers that multiply to 10 and add to -2. Okay, so you can see A was selected as being prime. Now, when I get to B, so the C value is -36, and the the B value is 0. So it multiplies to -36. So if it multiplies, and it's negative, that means one of the numbers is positive and one of them's negative. So what about -6 and +6? So multiply those together, you get -36, and add them and you get 0. So that one can be factored, so it is not prime. The 25, they need to multiply to 25 and add to 0, and the multiplication is positive, so they're either both negative or both positive. So if you look at 5 and 5, if they're both positive, they would add to 10. If they were both negative, they would add to -10. So, and it's not 25 and 1, that won't work. So that one is prime, it can't be factored. And so D, I got -6 and -1. So it multiplies to -6 and adds to -1. Since it multiplies to a negative, that means one of them's positive and one of them's negative. So how about 3 and 2? So let's try -3 and +2. So that would multiply to -6. And if I added those, they would add to -1. So yes, that one can be factored also. Um, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to -36 and add to +1. Um, so it multiplies to a negative, so one of them's positive, one of them's negative. So I've got like -6 and 6. That doesn't work. You got 12 and 3. It doesn't matter which one you make negative. That's not going to add to 1. 9 and 4, those are 5 apart. So really you're looking for two numbers that are just 1 apart. And there aren't any. So this one is also prime. And then the last one, multiplies to 25 and adds to -10. That would be -5 and -5. So again, it multiplies to a positive but adds to a negative. Now, that's all you need for the answer, but I just want to, just as a quick review of factoring, I want to show you these ones that could be factored. The way you would write that answer if you actually factored it, the factored answer for this one would be x minus 6 times x plus 6. So that's what you do with those two numbers. And this one would be x minus 3, and it's minus because that's a -3, and then times x plus 2 because it's a positive 2. And this one would be x minus 5 times x minus 5. Or you could simply write that as x minus 5 to the second power. So it's just being multiplied times itself. Okay, so pretty good amount of work in that problem. Hopefully that helped you out. If not, back it up and check it out again. So factoring is a really important part of algebra and something you need to learn. So keep it up and you will master the math.